guys, Faye here.
And me, Shin.
And welcome back to another episode of Grammar Check. In the previous episode, we talked about adjectives, where they are placed before or after the nouns. We talked about adjective orders, and we also talked about modals. So today in this live stream, we will be talking about E.g versus I.e, modifiers, and conjunctions. So let's get started with the first topic.
So, for the first topic, we'll be talking about E.g or I.e versus I.e. First of all, what's the big difference between E.g and I.e? More importantly, why should you care about it? Okay, well, you should, and here's why. So, E.g and I.e are two very different phrases and are used in different ways. But how are they different? And in what different ways are they used? Well, they are both Latin phrases that we have abbreviated and made into acronyms. Well, E.g is the acronym for exempli gratia or gratia, which literally translates into for the sake of example. And in English, it means for example. I.e, on the other hand, is the acronym for the Latin id est, which means in other words or that is to say. So now you know the basics, the very basics of what is E.g and I.e. Now let's go into the nitty-gritty or the specifics. We'll start with E.g. So when do we use E.g? We want to use E.g when we want to give examples about the things we are talking about in that particular sentence. This may be one example or multiple examples, but never all the examples that you can think of. Only some, okay? This is an incomplete list. For example, in these sentences, I study wildcats, e.g., tigers and lions. Wildcats do not only include tigers and lions, but they can include a multitude of different other animals that go under the classification of wildcats. But since we're using E.g, we only want to put in only a few examples. And the next example, I like water sports, e.g. water polo or kite surfing. So again, we don't want to list all the possible answers or examples, but only some of them to give your listener an idea of what you are talking about. Okay, so in the example given, the E.g is used to give specific examples of the thing you are talking about. So, and this is to reiterate or to say again, when listing your examples, you don't list all the possible examples, but only some of them. Now let's go to I.e. When do we use it? So it is used to clarify or to make clear what we mean about the subject we are talking about. It is used basically to repeat what we already said, but using different words, or to specify something we are talking about. For example, I'll be using the same sentences, but using I.e. instead of E.g. to make things a little bit clearer. I study wild cats, i.e. cats that have not been domesticated. So in this example above, i.e. is used to restate or to rehash or to reword what has been said or give more information about the topic. For example, about giving more information is like the second example. I like water sports, i.e. sports that are played in or on water. Okay, so in this case, it's used to give definition, or it's used to further clarify to help your reader understand what you are talking about. So I.e. and E.g. are not really used when we are talking, but it is more used in writing. So this is how we format E.g. and I.e. into our writings. So This e.g. and I.e. are usually written in the middle of the sentence, okay? Like, it happened last November, i.e. 2 months ago. Okay, so you usually start it in the middle of the sentence. So you end after saying the i.e. and whatever you have to say, you put a period at the end. Now, when writing using these, they are written usually in the lowercase and with periods or full stops after each letter, as it was done above, right here. So lowercase I, lowercase e with periods or full stops in between. It can also be written without the periods, so just e.g. without the periods. But usually in American writings, we see it with the periods. The golden rule is, when you're writing, be consistent. If you're writing with the periods, keep at it and use the periods throughout your writing. If it is without the periods, then it should be that way for your entire writing. Now, in general, we add a comma after the last period of e.g. and i.e. So after G period, we put a comma, like in this example. Now, do not use etc. after using e.g. It is already understood that you are only giving an incomplete list, so you do not need to put e.g., which means you don't need to put etc. after using e.g. because etc. also means and other things that I did not mention. Okay, now there are many ways to use these in sentences. So one way is using comma before e.g. and i.e. So in this example, he directs a variety of genres, comma, e.g. crime, disaster, fantasy, drama, fantasy. When using this method, you should remember that the sentence that come after the e.g. and i.e. should not be a standalone sentence. If it is you do, your sentence would be grammatically incorrect. So, what do I mean by standalone sentence? What I mean by standalone sentence is, complete sentences, complete idea with a subject and a predicate. Okay. So if you look at this example right here, crime, disaster, drama, fantasy, it is an incomplete idea. You cannot. This sentence cannot be on its own. So next we have semicolon before the e.g. and i.e. He directs a variety of genres. Semicolon, e.g. he directs crime, disaster, drama, and fantasy. The semicolon is appropriate here if the sentence that goes after e.g. and i.e. is a standalone sentence. So if we remove this part of the sentence here, he directs crime, disaster, drama, and fantasy, you can understand this sentence even if it is without the first sentence. So that's why it's standalone. That's why we use the semicolon. Next, parenthesis with e.g. and i.e. He directs a variety of games, e.g. crime, disaster, drama, and fantasy. So with this format, you want to keep it as a not standalone sentence, so as an incomplete sentence, and you put the period after you fill in this e.g., fill in the parenthesis, or you close the parenthesis. Or if you want to be extra careful, you must use a period. You may use a period or start a new sentence. But in this case, you have to make it a standalone sentence, okay? So, do you understand e.g. and i.e.? If you don't, just ask a question and we will try to reply to you. Now, modifiers.
Okay, so we are already done with e.g. and i.e. Now we will be talking about modifiers. So, what are modifiers? These are words, phrases, or clauses that describe something or makes it more specific. That means it amplifies words or phrases or clauses, and they can function as adjectives or adverbs. So here in the picture, we have the first one. It modifies a word, okay? So it can be an adjective or an adverb. So we have the first example, expensive cloak, okay? So the modifier here is expensive, since it's an adjective and it modifies the word cloak, which is your noun. The second one, it flapped gently, okay? We have an adverb, and that is our modifier, okay? It still modifies the cloak. And then we have the second one, phrases. It modifies phrases. So the first one, we have an adjectival phrase, a very fast brew. So a very fast is your adjectival phrase, and it modifies the word brew. Second, we have an adverbial phrase. She sat on the broom. The adverbial phrase here is on the broom. And the third one is a modifier that modifies a clause. Okay, we have the first adjective clause, the ghost that stole the bandages. So our adjective clause here is that stole the bandages. The second one, we have an adverbial clause. He came when the moon appeared. Okay, our clause here is when the moon appeared, and I will discuss it further later. So the first use of modifier is as adjectives. It modifies a noun or a pronoun. So there can be categories in that. We have different types of modifiers as adjectives. The first one is single word adjectives. They can be normal adjectives or determiners, okay? Such as possessive determiners, e.g. my, your. For example, we have my purse, okay? So there's a possessive determiner and it modifies the word purse. Second, we have demonstrative determiners, e.g. this, those. For example, we have that mouse. So our determiner is that, and it modifies the word mouse. We also have quantifiers, e.g. many, some, two. But here in our example, we have one professor. So one is our quantifier, and the word that it modifies is professor. We also have interrogative adjectives, e.g. which or what. And for example, we have what kind. Okay, it's like we are asking a question. And the last one, we have articles, on, and that. Here in our articles, I gave an example, the, and then it modifies the word one. Okay, now we have adjectival phrase. Can be any group of words headed by an adjective or another form of multi-word adjectives, such as prepositional phrases. Usually they start with prepositions. For example, mouse in the corner. So our phrase here is in the corner, and our preposition is in. Next, we have infinitives. So we already discussed what infinitives are. Usually it's a phrase or it's a verb. It's not actually a verb, but we have to and the verb. So here we have one, to, remember. And we have participial phrases, which means we use the participle form of the verb. For example, looking over his glasses.
What do you mean?
Okay. We also have adjective clauses. A multi-word adjective that includes both a subject and a verb. The adjective usually comes after the noun it modifies, okay? Adjective comes after the noun it modifies. It will start with either a relative pronoun, for example, who, whom, whose, which, that. Okay, we have examples, sample sentences here. The carpets that you bought last year have rotted. So that is our clause. That you bought last year, and it started with a relative pronoun. However, the relative pronoun can be omitted. That means it's unnecessary. It can be unnecessary to not put the relative pronoun. For example, the carpets you bought last year have rotted. So it is still correct without the relative pronoun. And also, it can start with a relative adverb. when, where, or why. The person who claimed to have a limp sprinted after the bus. So our relative adverb here, the clause started with who, okay? Who claimed to have a limp. So that is for adjective clauses. Now, modifiers as adverbs. Usually it modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. For example, we have single word adverbs, okay? So the first sentence we have here, he plays nicely. So the word nicely, the adverb here modifies the verb, which is plays. Second one, leave tomorrow. The adverb modifies the verb leave. Next, think carefully. Carefully here is our adverb and it still modifies the verb think. Next, we have extremely beautiful. So our adverb is extremely and it modifies an adjective, which is beautiful. And the last one, really quickly. So the adverb here is really and it modifies another adverb, which is quickly. We also have adverbial phrases. So usually adverbial phrases modify a verb. So we have prepositional phrases. Again, it starts with a preposition. He plays in the corner. That is our prepositional phrase, in the corner. Again, we have infinitive phrases wherein it starts with an infinitive. For example, leave to keep the peace, and our phrase here is to keep the peace. And the last one, an adverb with an intensifier. So in this case, our intensifier is the word very. Okay, so our adverb here is carefully and it is intensified by the word very. Okay, so we have adjectival clauses and then we also have adverbial clauses. In this case, adverbial clauses modify verbs. Okay, they contain a subject and a verb. It is a dependent clause and it can't stand alone as a meaningful sentence. That means that clause doesn't have a meaning if it is not paired or if it's incomplete. So it doesn't have a meaning. It starts with a subordinating conjunction, e.g. because, until, if, when, like. We have some examples here. He plays until the stars appear. So the adverbial clause started with a subordinating conjunction, which is until. And the second example, leave if you want to leave. Okay, we have a subordinating conjunction, which is if.
So now that we're done with our modifiers, let's go straight into our conjunctions. So what are conjunctions? These are words that combine, link words, phrases, and clauses together. They help you form more complex sentences. Without conjunctions, you're stuck explaining complicated ideas using short and simple sentences. That would be a pain in the head to do without conjunctions. So let's go on to the types of conjunctions that we have in the English language. Here are a few of them: the coordinating conjunctions, the subordinating conjunctions, and the correlative conjunctions. Don't worry if these words are new, we'll be discussing each one of them later on. But let's start with the coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are words that join phrases, words, clauses of equal grammatical rank in the sentence. So what is grammatical rank? Grammatical rank is like simple sentence, complex sentence. Like the value of this, the difficulty basically of a sentence. That's the very simple explanation of what a grammatical rank is. So coordinating conjunctions, there's not only one, but there are actually 7 that we have. So this is a mnemonic device. So a mnemonic device is something that helps you remember a group of ideas or a group of words more easily by shortening it to an acronym or to a phrase. For example, the most common coordinating conjunctions can be placed into a mnemonic device such as fanboys, which goes as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Let's see the coordinating conjunctions in action. So in this example, I'd like pizza or a salad for lunch. We need a place to concentrate. So we packed up our things and went to the library. Jessie didn't have much money, but she got by. So when the coordinating conjunctions link two independent clauses, you place a comma before the conjunction. Okay, so if it is an independent clause, a clause that can be understood by itself, you need to put a comma before the conjunctions. Like in this sentence right here. If we packed up our things and went to the library, that is an independent clause. It can be understood by itself, so that's why we placed a comma before so. Unlike the first sentence here, a salad for lunch. We don't understand what a salad for lunch is, or does it have any context for it to be understood. That is why there is no need for a comma placed before the conjunction. So let's move on to the specifics. The coordinating conjunction and. And has many functions as a conjunction. These are some of them. To suggest that one idea is chronologically sequential to another. So what do I mean by chronologically sequential? That means it goes step by step according to time. So as time moves, it goes one by one in that same order with the movement or the progression of time. Like in this example, Tashonda sent in her application and waited by the phone for a response. So it tells us in this use of and that this part of the sentence came first, then this one right after it. Okay, next. To suggest that one idea is the result of another. So this is like a cause and effect, that one happened because another thing happened. For example, Willie heard the weather report and promptly boarded up his house. So because he heard the weather report, he promptly boarded up his house. Next, to suggest that one idea is in contrast to the other, this is actually frequently replaced by but in this usage. So we can use either and or but in most cases, but is the more preferred conjunction to use. Like in this example, Juanita is brilliant and Shalimar is a pleasant personality. Okay? But in this case, this just shows a contradiction or a difference. But is used for a more strong opposition to an idea. But that will be explained in the next slide. Next function, to suggest an element of surprise. This function can be also used by yet. Okay, so for example, Hartford is a rich city and suffers from many symptoms of urban blight or suffering. Blight means suffering. Okay, so and can be replaced with yet. Okay, so last of all, for the functions of and, to suggest that one clause is dependent upon another. Conditional. So that means without that second clause, the other clause could be not understood or cannot stand by itself. Usually, the first clause is imperative. So, use your credit card frequently, and you'll soon find yourself in debt. So, this is the imperative clause here, and you'll soon find yourself in debt. We don't really understand this first part. Use your credit cards frequently. So, and connects these two ideas in order to make one solid and one understandable sentence. Okay, so next we have the coordinating conjunction but. But I will not explain it, my partner will.
Okay, so we use the coordinating conjunction but first to suggest a contrast that is expected in light of the first clause. Okay, so it's in contrast. We have an example here. Joey lost a fortune in the stock market, but he still seems able to live quite comfortably. Okay, so there is a contrast between the two clauses there. The second one, to suggest in an affirmative sense what the first part of the sentence implied in a negative way. So it's like they are opposing, okay? First part of the sentence is affirmative or positive, and the second is negative. Sometimes it is replaced by on the contrary. For example, the club never invested foolishly, but used the services of a sage investment counselor. So it's like they are, the first part is affirmative and the second is negative. Next one is to connect two ideas, okay, with the meaning of, with the exception of, and then the second word takes over as the subject. For example, everybody but Golden Breath is trying out for the team. Okay, so it connected two ideas, and sometimes you can replace it with the exception of. So it goes like this: everybody with the exception of Golden Breath is trying out for the team.
So now that my partner's explained, but let's proceed with or. Or is used to suggest that one possibility can be realized, excluding one or the other. So let's look at an example to explain that more. You can study hard for the exam, or you can fail. So this is how or works. It presents to you a possibility that can happen if you do the thing stated previously or you don't. So in this example, you can study hard. If you study hard, you won't fail. But if you don't, you will fail. Okay? So next one, to suggest the inclusive combination of alternatives. So this is just like when you're giving a choice to somebody. So in the example here, we can broil chicken on the grill tonight, or we can just eat leftovers. So you're offering a decision, a choice to be made to your friend or to the person you're talking to. Next, to suggest a refinement of the first clause. So let's look at the sentence to get a clearer understanding of that. Smith College is the premier all-women's college in the country, or so it seems to most Smith College alumni. So when you use or in this function, it just gives a bit more detail, or you want to give something else, or to refine the idea so that, or explain the idea so that it's more understandable, or it gives a new context or new light to your listener or to your reader. Next, to suggest a restatement or correction of the first part of a sentence. So there are no rattlesnakes in this canyon, or so our guide tells us. So that means this is like a truth that has been said to you, but when you use the or, we want to say something that will correct the previous statement here in order to show that the first statement may or may not be wrong. It gives the reader some type of enigma or some wonder or something to think about while reading you or listening to you. Okay, now next, to suggest a negative condition. The New Hampshire state motto is rather grim: to live free or die. So when we use it or in this condition, we have to say something positive first, like live free, then follow it up with or die. Okay? Now let's go to nor.
Okay, so the coordinating conjunction nor is not commonly used. It can be used with other negative expressions, but the most common use is as the little brother in the correlative pair neither nor. Okay, so that is the pair where no nor goes. Neither nor. We have some examples here. He's neither sane nor brilliant. That means he is not sane or brilliant. The second one, that is neither what I said nor what I meant. That means that both of the statements are incorrect. So that is not what I said, or that is not what I meant. And the third, the other use, it is possible to use nor without a preceding negative element, but sometimes it is unusual. So let's take an example. George's handshake is as good as any written contract, nor has he ever proven untrustworthy. So we can actually use it without neither, but sometimes it's unusual and it's awkward, and sometimes the sentence can be a bit stuffy.
Okay, so now we go to yet. As a coordinating conjunction, it functions similarly with nevertheless and but yet can function as an adverb and has several meanings. It can mean in addition, yet another cause of trouble, or a simple yet noble woman. So it can mean as in addition to the previous statement, this also is true. Next, even. Yet can also function as even. Yet more expensive. So like, I like this brand, yet it's more expensive. So even it gives like more information about it. Next, still, he is yet a novice. So this is like, to me, it's an old way of speaking, but yet is like still. So you can replace it with still. So he's still a novice. Eventually, they may yet win. Okay, and lastly, so soon as now, he's not here yet. So this is one of the more common things that you will hear in average conversation. So you can use it, he's not here yet, or it's not done yet. Okay, so
next coordinating conjunction is for. It is most often used as a preposition, and it is used to introduce the reason for the preceding clause. For example, John thought he had a good chance to get his job, for his father was on the company's board of trustees. So it introduces the reason for the clause, for the preceding clause. And the second example, most of the visitors were happy just sitting around in the shade, for it had been a long, dusty journey on the train.
Okay, so this is the last one. The coordinating conjunction so. It can mean as well or in addition. If you can remember, yet also has that function too. Like in this sentence, Soto is not the only Olympic athlete in his family. So are his brother, sister, and his uncle Chet. It should be noted here that careful writers would use a semicolon instead of a comma between the independent clauses. Okay, so if you remember previously, when you are having independent clauses, it is separated by a colon. But if the first independent clause is followed by a dependent clause or a not standalone sentence, we use a comma there. Okay. So next, it can function as therefore. So Soto has always been nervous in large gatherings, so it is no surprise that he avoids crowds of his adoring fans. This happened, so it is understandable that this also happened. That's what therefore is. It means a logical connection between one event and the other. And last function, it can also function as a vehicle to sum up. So the sheriff removed the child from the custody of his parents. So if used in this manner, so is separated from the rest of the sentence with the use of a comma. Okay? So right here, so it is usually it's in conclusion, yeah. It is to say the final words in your writing. So if you use this function of so, you must have so, then comma, then the summation of what you had just said. So this is the end of the coordinating conjunctions. Let us proceed with the subordinating conjunctions.
Okay, there are a lot of subordinating conjunctions, but I will not discuss them one by one. Sometimes they are sometimes called a dependent word or a subordinator. It comes at the beginning of a subordinate clause and establishes a relationship between the dependent clause and the rest of a sentence. So I have a list there. And here are some sample sentences. He came to work, although he felt sick. In this case, the subordinating conjunction is the word although. Second, we couldn't see the film after the electricity went out. The subordinating conjunction here is the word after. Next, before he contacted me, I called him. The conjunction is the word before. The next sentence we have, I love cats because they are so cute. And the conjunction here is because. Next, he explained how he broke his leg, and our conjunction here is the word how. And the last one, unless you ask her, you will never know. And of course, our conjunction here is the word unless.
So that's just a short explanation of subordinating conjunctions. We will just proceed now to the correlative conjunctions. So the correlative conjunctions are just your coordinating conjunctions and your subordinating conjunctions that travel and work together in pairs. So these are two conjunctions in one sentence that work together to convey an idea. Some examples are both and, not only but, also not but, either or, neither nor, whether or as. So some example sentences here is, I want either a cheesecake or a chocolate cake, where the correlative conjunctions are either or to represent that there is a duality, or there's confusion within you because you want both, or you want one or the other. Next, we'll have both the cheesecake and the chocolate cake. So when using this example, you want to say that you want both and not one or the other, but both of them. Next example is, I didn't know whether you'd want the cheesecake or the chocolate cake, so I got both. So in this example, the speaker did not know what the receiver of the food wanted. So he wanted to just say that he got both. Okay? Now, oh, you want neither the cheesecake nor the chocolate cake? No problem. So this is the example that was stated in the coordinating conjunctions with nor. Neither nor. That means both are unwanted. Next, I'll eat them both. Not only the cheesecake, but also the chocolate cake. So this represents that you want both of them, not just one, but both of them. Next, I see you're in the mood, not for desserts, but appetizers. I'll help you with those too. So for this example, we have the word not. So not represents negative, something that you don't want. But after that, you put but, which represents the thing that you actually want, over the one that comes after the not. Okay? So that's just some short explanations for the subordinating conjunctions and the correlative. Now that we've run out of time, do we have English fact?
Okay, so I think I have one. And did you know that the most commonly used adjective in the English language is the word good?
Oh, that's good to know.
I know, right? It really is good to know.
Okay, so that's it for Grammar Check today. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. See you next stream. Bye!